When I went looking for the best way to do something, I discovered that I had it backwards. I had to get started if I wanted to find the best way. It's similar to driving on an unfamiliar road at night. Ideally, you'd like to be able to see where your route is before you begin. But you can't see, but you see it progressively as you move forward. I even practiced that. A little more of the road is revealed to you as you move forward. If you want to see more of the way, then get moving. Friends and grasshoppers, this is the Formless Podcast, episode number 132, with Tyler, the Superhuman, and me, Dustin. You know, I even practiced that.
You did practice that.
That was a sad, yeah. No take twos, baby. Let's go.
It's okay. It's okay. It's all good. That, is kind of like one of the things we talked about that we were going to talk about on this podcast.
Yeah.
The subject.
Yeah.
So,
which is what, sir?
Taking action and what you're doing in the zone of action.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but first I just want to say too, that last podcast with Scott Halsey, that was a really good one.
That was awesome. It was a lot of fun. What a nice guy. What a super nice guy. I had met him in passing a handful of times, talked to him here and there, and I always had a good interaction with him. But that was the first time I sat down with like zero interruptions and just a class act. It was really cool. Nice guy.
Yeah, and I'd always seen him at the tournaments that he had, and it was almost like you're doing the actual real thing with him at the tournament where he's judging you and you're sparring and it's a tournament. And then, but like normally you do things the other way around. You get to know somebody and then you do something with them. Whereas I just started doing
something and then met him later.
Yeah. So it was really cool to meet him. Just on different terms and to hear his story. And it was just really cool. And just to see what somebody was like that had really just started out doing martial arts and having their own school at such a young age. That was just cool.
It was cool. Definitely a cool thing. And hopefully we get to have more of that.
Just more guests
cool
like that.
Just more cool things,
Yeah, and definitely have Scott on again.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, so you had told me about this concept of being. Well, let's talk about the concept first.
So yeah, first of all, we're going into uncharted territory here. In talking about some of the concepts, we talked a little bit about that. We made a short a while back talking about some of our concepts for our school and our style of martial arts. And it got some traction and just kind of thought like, if we want people to know about what we do, then maybe we ought to talk some more about that. And the easiest one to talk about, it's kind of hard to talk about theories and concepts in martial arts on a podcast.
Because we don't have a visual representation.
And this is a physical activity.
Yes.
Right? So if I was going to show, like if we're going to teach how to do a combination, like there's only so much the audio medium could give that lesson, right? Or that student, that person receiving the lesson. So it's kind of a tricky concept here, but we're gonna do our best. And I think in the terms of the one that we want to talk about, action, I think we could get a fairly good representation of that.
Yes.
By giving real life experience with that, right? So this concept we're going to talk about, this zone of action, basically your personal bubble. Everyone has one. Everyone relates to that. But we're going to define the outer limits of that personal bubble as your reach.
So your reach that you can reach with either like your fists
or
your hands,
yeah,
right?
Your hands or your feet.
Or your feet, yeah. And the absolute limit
of that distance.
That distance.
Okay. So that's your personal space. That's the zone of action. And if you're in that zone with another person, something needs to be happening.
Now you're talking in regards to martial arts.
In regards to martial arts, like if we're going to spar and we're in that zone, we're in that space, it does us no good if we're not doing something, right? If I'm not punching you or kicking you or grabbing you or poking you in the eyeball or slapping your ear, then I am in danger, right?
Yep.
So
it's like two people that are close enough to each other that their personal bubbles, their personal reach overlaps each other, and there's that space where there's the overlap is where the action happens.
Yeah, and that action needs to be happening. Otherwise, what's the point of being there? So, two ideas. The first one is we don't break that plane. We don't go into that space and then happen. Then the action happens. No. The action happens as we cross that space, right? As we break that barrier, with action. Mm-hmm. So we don't step in and then hit. We hit as we cross, right? That's the idea. In a perfect world, that's what would happen every single time. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is as we learn things, right? Especially like abstract concepts and things, or I'm speaking from personal experience, not this isn't a collective. I'm talking about what's going on between my two ears. In teaching, that's one of the first things we teach. That's like your first lesson. We talk about how you step forward, throw your attack, right? You step forward, throw your punch.
Well, and we even go in deeper where your punch should actually precede your step.
Yes. But those two actions are happening together, not one then the other.
Correct, yeah.
Okay? Totally simple. Everyone understands that. Like you get that picture. It almost never happens though. I'm watching kids and I'm watching adults. We were sparring last Monday. And I'm watching like really close. And everyone's just kind of creeping in. And we're creeping in. And we're creeping in. And then next thing you know, they broke that barrier. And they're like within kissing distance of each other. And then the action happens. And it happened over and over again. And I noticed it even happens like, I've been doing this for quite a while. And it happens with myself. Because there's a ton of things to keep track of. There's a ton of things to remember. There's all sorts of chaos happening, right? And I'm like, why is that? I mean, if this is such a fundamental concept, if this is such an important thing, why are we allowing that to happen? And I haven't got that answer yet. But hopefully we'll find some here. But anyway, it's just this thing that I noticed, right? So we've got to be aware of that space and when that space is violated. And there's so much stuff I want to say. I'm trying to keep my thoughts focused and coherent
because you could get off on tangents.
I can get off on tangents so easy. But yeah, it's super, it makes total sense. Like if I'm in space where I can hit you and you can hit me, I need to cross into that space with an action, with hitting, with something going on. Otherwise, I run the risk of getting hit before I can hit, right? Or I step in with this game plan and then it's all jumbled up because I just got punched in the teeth. On the flip side of that, right? If I go in to this idea here, if I'm going to cross into this space and I've got this plan of what I'm going to do, right? Oh, I'm going to throw a jab followed by a cross and then an uppercut. And I've got this whole game plan in. And then I cross into that zone of action and I throw my jab, cross, uppercut. If I get hit and interrupt it at any point on that line, what usually happens?
I mean,
it's
that Mike Tyson quote, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Exactly. So I'm having trouble talking about all this.
No, you're painting a picture visually. You're through words.
But like, there's a fine line. Like, you want to plan, but you don't want to have such a concrete plan that if some little thing goes awry, that it just spirals out of control. I think the biggest point that I personally wanted to make is that, like, we're all in a zone of action in one aspect or another. Whether we're talking about martial arts specifically and sparring or defending yourself or fighting, or we're just talking about life in general, right? There is a zone of action for everyone in every aspect. Whether we like that or not, we are in various zones of action. In the zone of action that is our life, there's always something happening, right? We have car troubles. We have bills coming in. We have relationship things. We've got work things. There's always something going on. How often do we wait until we're in that zone where we're dealing with it?
That's profound.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think so. I just think
it's simple, but it's profound.
It's simple. But like, I was thinking about this the other day because, like, my work is based off deadlines,
right?
Expiration dates, things that are like, okay, on the 31st, this is due. Meaning you better renew this whole thing for a year or 3 years, or get something to replace it. Because if that time comes and you haven't renewed it, somebody's business is basically shut down. When you're running like computer stuff, software, security things, VPNs, that sort of stuff. If you don't renew it before that expiration date, you're in deep kimchi. Right? So like, you have the foreknowledge that something's going to happen. It's like, when do you act on it? Well, if you act too soon, you're not getting the full value of your subscription. If you act too late, you get shut down. So there's this fine window of when the action needs to take place. Right? Sparring. If I wait until I can hit you before I try and hit you, right? Like, if I start my punch while I'm already in that zone of action, then I run the risk of you beating me, right? You hit me before I hit you. If I start outside that very line or that zone and go into that zone with an attack, my chances of being successful should increase theoretically.
Yes.
Right? Am I right?
No, you're
okay.
Right. You're right.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to visualize it as I talk about it.
Well, it's just, I mean, if I've got a baseball bat and I'm trying to swing it at somebody, right, in self-defense.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Like, there's only so much reach that baseball bat has, right? In my hands, in a baseball bat, whatever the length, let's just say it's 3 feet, right? I don't know what the length of a baseball bat is, but let's just say 3 feet. So if a baseball bat is 3 feet long, then I go to swing it. Well, if I'm 5 feet away from you, and between the tip of the baseball bat and you is 5 feet is what I'm trying to say, then I've swung too early because I'm still out of range. You've got to time it just right to where I'm right in range. Yeah. Where that tip of that baseball bat is to swing it.
So now we're bringing in all the other concepts there.
Oh,
right?
Okay, gotcha. Right? Yep, I was. Yep.
Let's narrow our focus.
Yep.
Here. So it's zone of action. Action.
Well,
but you're on the ball there.
Yeah.
Like, I get what you're saying.
I totally know what you're. Yeah. So So zone of action. So you're saying that you want to be in motion when you're in the zone of action.
In motion. I think that is a part that I've forgotten. Right? We have to be in a state of motion.
And it has to be in a state of motion, but it has to be effective.
Yeah.
It can't be ineffective strikes with when you're in the zone of action, when I'm close enough to punch or kick my partner, I need to be throwing effective strikes, not just like bouncing around, waving my hands, unless that's part of your strategy.
For sake of, you mean there has to be a reason behind each action.
What you're doing. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think when your deadline for work approaches and
I'm in the line to get coffee, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, you're in trouble. Yeah. So, no, that's interesting, right? Like like the way I was thinking of, you were using the term of like a job deadline is approaching. I was thinking like, well, okay, so say you look at the tires on your car and you're like, man, I need new tires. And I don't need them yet, but I'm going to need my tires. Mm-hmm. If you wait until they're bald, now you're in the risk of popping a tire on the freeway. But if you replace them too early, you
still got some life left.
You've got still some life left in those tires. But so there needs to be a plan ahead of time, of kind of like what you're doing. Yeah. So that once you get in that zone of action, you have an idea of what you're doing. Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I was headed. Also, though, there's a fine line because, like, if it's too concrete, right?
Totally.
The tire analogy you were using, right? If only tire I want is BF Goodwrench all terrains, and I go to the tire shop and they're like, "Oh, well, we don't have that. We've got these other tires." But that's what I wanted. Well, you got to be flexible.
You got to be flexible.
We got to be. We can't be so stuck in the rut of like, this is the only way it happens. These are abstract concepts, and I feel like we're in deep water right now because I'm trying to like make this relatable and make it understandable. Yet, that's a tough one.
Are you talking so for somebody out there listening, they're thinking about doing something in their life, like taking action and...
Well, yeah. We're all in that zone of action, whether we want to be or not.
Some sort of zone
of action. Whether you choose to sit on the couch and watch Netflix all day or do something, like the action is still happening, right? So be proactive, right? Like if the action's going to happen and I have no choice that action's happening, I've got to act. I've got to do something. I can't just put my head in the sand. So in terms of sparring, we know where that zone is, right? If that zone of action is defined by my reach, then I know that zone of action is moving towards me or I'm moving towards it. Then I know and I'm prepared. I can throw as I cross that line. As I come in there, I can do something. I can act. As long as I'm aware that it's there. So now we're getting into the other concepts again. I'm trying to stay just in the one. Oh.
Well, and Sensei Blue said something really profound one time, and we had between our school and his school in Wisconsin, we had a seminar. It was online, and he taught via like a Zoom video call.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
And Sensei Blue said something to the effect of, when it comes to having a plan, he's like, well, if I'm crossing the critical distance line with a plan, he's like, and I've got it fixed in my head, he said, well, I believe, This is what he said. I believe that I am subconsciously communicating to my opponent or my training partner, I am subconsciously communicating what my plan is somehow. That gets really deep, because if you go in,
okay.
If I go in and I say, I'm like, okay, boom, I'm going to go in with a back fist or a jab, and then a jab, and then an uppercut, and then, a sweep to the legs. Somehow I am communicating that to my opponent or my partner. And so he's like, it's best to go in with, he's like, I almost need to go in not knowing what I'm doing. So
okay.
So maybe that is a concept. I know that's essentially what he said, because I've never forgot it. And when we have him on the podcast, I'd like to ask him about it again. But that's in relation to two people sparring and having a formless style, a formless mind, and going in and just being able to adapt, right? Like water adapts to whatever it goes into. But for your work deadline, having a plan, like, that doesn't quite work in the zone of action.
Yeah. The time to plan is before you're there.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
The time to plan is to be there before you're to be ready to go before you get to that deadline. I think that the time to plan, for a tournament, right? The time to plan is when you're training, when you're gearing up, when you're practicing, when you're getting in shape for that tournament or that sparring match or that fight, right? You don't wake up the morning of the sparring match or the fight or the tournament and go, oh man, I better stretch and train.
Yeah. No,
right.
No.
The time to do that was like 6 months ago.
Yes.
Time to cut weight for the wrestling match was, 6 weeks ago, when you had the option of like Cheerios or cake for breakfast, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So I like in the moment, at
we're
that split second
blows.
when we're exchanging punches and kicks or grappling or the action is right there. It's a split second before that's too late to plan. At that point, I'm looking and adapting.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to say, okay, where's the open shot? Where can I grab? Where can I punch? Where can I kick? What's open? And then bang, go for it. If I am in that zone of action and I'm like, oh, now's the time to pull out my combination, blah, 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 that's too late. I've already been punched or kicked or choked. I think if I'm going to work that, I watched this training video. I cannot remember. It was this guy, it was a UFC fight. I cannot remember the guy's name. He's watching the warm-up tape, right? Like, you know how they do like in the locker room and the guy's like warming up and getting set?
Yeah, like shadow boxing.
Shadow boxing or hitting pads with the trainer. They had live cameras in, right? And they were watching the feed of like the other fighters before they do their walk-in and have their match. And this guy's watching his opponent do his warm-up. And this guy's working this combination like over and over again. Just like a quick jab cross, was a jab cross and then like some sort of a knee or something. So he's watching this thing play out. The guy's opponent. The fight happens, and he had a counter for this exact combination that the other fighter was practicing. And the fight was over like that. It was so cool. And I was like, when I was watching it, I'm like, I better save this or remember it. And then something else happened and it went away. But I got to find that again. And
that's a good one.
It was really cool. I mean, it's like, the planning stage was happening before the fight happened. Okay. But once the fight happened, it played out like he planned. Right. it doesn't always work out that way. So he would have had to adapt if it didn't work out that way. I don't have a good example of it not working out. And I guess that's why, right? Like if it didn't work out, if his plan didn't work out, the outcome would have been different.
Right.
Right.
Oh, the guy watching.
Okay, let's say you and I are going to spar and I watch you practice a combination.
Right.
Jab, cross, uppercut, sweep. Okay. And I watch you practice that over and over again. And so we go to spar and you start your combination, you throw the jab and I duck and hit you. Okay. That worked. I interrupted your plan. But let's say I don't duck far enough and you jab and I get stunned and then the cross comes and then the uppercut comes and the next thing I know I'm on my back. Well, that didn't work, right? So then there's not very many examples of that, to show that not working. Yes. Is what I was trying to say.
Yes.
Because it didn't work, right?
It didn't work, yeah.
So,
so the first thing that goes to mind to me is like, well, what if that guy knew he was in and this is getting outside of our kind of our concept, but I just wanted to say this. So like the guy that's in the locker room practicing his jab, cross,
his combo.
He's practicing his combo.
And he knows he's being watched by his opponent. He knows
he's being watched. Well, I might practice something that I'm just not even going to use and feed them some false information.
But that's having prior knowledge, right? Like that's having some expanded worldview.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't get that luxury all the time.
Nope.
So...
Well, and that's where I was saying at one point that's why I like doing tournaments, because you go to a tournament and you might go up against someone to spar that you have never seen them move before. You don't know how flexible they are, what their footwork's like, and you're just bam, and you are right in a match with them, and then all of a sudden you're in the zone of action with them and exchanging blows, and you're having to adapt
on the fly.
And I think that is the most awesomest thing. One of the most awesome things that I've experienced doing martial arts. It's just like, here's a person I've never trained with, haven't even really seen him spar, and bam, now we're going at it.
Yeah, and I think that's a very cool concept, because you get into like high level martial arts, boxing, MMA, wrestling, whatever. You have like footage. You have you'll find a training partner that spars like that person.
Correct.
That you're going to fight later on or wrestle or whatever with, and you have like hours of research going into this. In a tournament, it's like you don't know who's showing up. You don't know if you're going to fight a Kempo guy or Taekwondo or some Kung Fu or Muay Thai. It's wide open. Anybody can sign up and spar. So you can't go with any preconceived notions. You just have to act. You have to like adapt and deal with it the best you can. Right?
And we would define adapting within our art. Adapting is changing what you're doing to get a better outcome.
Yeah.
And so you are literally going in with the tools that you have, and you are
making the best of it.
Right. And when I pick up a hammer, right, to go hammer a nail, I've done a hammer enough. Like I've picked up a hammer enough times that you just put the nail where it's supposed to be. You hold it with your left hand, right? And then the hammer's in your right hand, or vice versa if you're left-handed. And you just hit that. Right? You hit that nail. We've used the hammer enough. So I'm not like, okay, like I've got to wrap my four fingers around this.
You've put in the prerequisite work. You're comfortable. You know how to use it. It's like driving a car. You don't think about like, oh, I got to turn the blinker on, pull it out of park, put my seat, blah, 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 blah. You don't think about all that stuff because you've done all the prep work.
work. So when you're in the zone of action against somebody that you don't know, that you're finding out how they fight right on the fly flow. Right on the go. So then you don't have time to think about how you're using your tools per se, as far as like, you just need to know how to use them. like, right? Because the prep work's been done ahead of time.
Yeah, you've done the prep work ahead of time.
That's not the time to figure out how they work. Like,
yeah. I think
experimenting wise.
Exactly. But this is where I get into trouble in my head because like I start overthinking stuff. And it's like the time to think about it was yesterday. Mm-hmm. The time to think about all of that, whether or not this works or not, or that thing's going to work or not work. It's too late. Now it's time to just go. It's time to just do what you do and then worry about the outcome after the fact.
Yep.
Because if you start thinking about all that other stuff, like how do I grip the hammer? How do I grip the nail? It's too late. Like you're going to smash your finger, you're going to bend the nail, you're not going to get the thing nailed.
You just need to be doing the thing right there. And I think that's been the aspiration of many a martial artist
to do the thing.
It's to just empty their mind and just become what they need to be in the moment.
Yeah.
And just hit how they need to hit. And it's such a simple concept, but it's so deep that you just.
Well, yeah. It's this weird world of abstract and concrete.
How does the abstract come into the reality then?
Yeah.
And then if you were to go, tell some person, some medieval knight that was, fought in a bunch of battles, he's like, no, you just start swinging the sword, man. Like you just get in there, you start chopping heads off.
Well, yeah.
They're like, what are you getting all into this philosophical stuff, abstract? Yeah. Like just get in there and start hitting.
To your point, like in military, right? Like you train, you're in the military.
Yeah.
You do live fire training.
Yes.
You shoot. Look at your target, you shoot. Like when it comes down to it, in actual, like people are trying to kill you, you're trying to kill them. Like those fundamental things that you learn in a calm, controlled environment do pertain to what you're doing, but they're completely polar opposite of the actual thing. Right? Mm-hmm. Like you're in a prone position in live fire training. You're shooting your target at 100 yards or 100 meters. Right. And, you're waiting for the drill instructor to say, okay, rest or reload or you're aiming too high or all of this stuff. Right. And you listen to him, the range officer, you're doing all the things, you're following all the rules. There's a area where you can shoot. There's an area where you can't point your weapon. There's all of these regulations. This is what I'm trying to get at. Right. And then you go into a live fire situation where you have enemy combatants and you're shooting them and they're shooting you. And like, not all of those rules go out the window, but a vast majority of them probably go right out the window.
Yeah.
Right.
It goes down to muscle memory.
Yes.
A lot of it goes down to, because you've done it so many times.
In the training aspect, right? We like, especially like the beginner level, the white belt level, you stand in one spot, you step forward, you throw a punch. Then you do rinse and repeat. Right? Over and over again, you're stationary except for that one step, that one punch, right? Well, if you did that in a sparring situation, you're in deep kimchi.
Deep kimchi.
Yeah. But you have to practice that because you have to have some sort of you have to have some foundation in chaos.
Absolutely.
Right. So like in the military analogy I gave, where you're shooting on a shooting range with a range officer, making sure everybody's not shooting each other and pointing the guns in the same direction and all of the targets are up and all of that stuff. And then you take that same thing and go into a battlefield. Like they're similar. There's lots of similarities, but there's a lot of differences.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. We're not all standing on a straight line. We're not all at the same distance from the bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody's going to be elevated. Somebody's in a foxhole. Somebody's standing. Somebody's laying down. Somebody's throwing a grenade.
It's dynamic.
Yeah.
It's very dynamic.
There's all sorts of fluidity versus we learn in this structure And then it just like half of that goes right out the window as soon as action happens. And that's where I get hung up, I think. Right? Because we spend most of the time on the training field or the mat. Very little time do we spend in the action.
I see. Okay, so, that's a good way to put it.
Like
yes.
I struggle with the like, okay, this is how we do it in practice. This is how it's under live action. This is where we talk about it. This is where we do it. Sometimes I get the two things confused and I'm talking about it when I should be doing it.
Okay.
See, okay. I can make sense of this if I talk it out in my head.
Yeah. And it's, I think bridging the gap between those two areas is of practicing something than actually doing it, right? Those like the training environment, then the real world environment is you're just going to have to accept the fact too. This term that I realized or I heard recently, it's just taking massive imperfect action. And I think that's where we it's like, well, I practiced it perfect to death in the training environment, but now I got to go do it. And I want it to be perfect. It's probably not going to be perfect.
But it's going to be better than what it was if you didn't practice.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't practice. What's the thing I heard? Don't practice till it's perfect. Practice till you can't get it wrong.
Yes. That's good.
Yeah. So it's funny. When I was about 15 years old, we moved, and my dad is very particular about stuff. So we had our whole family. We packed everything up in boxes. As much of stuff as we could, we put it in boxes. And my dad rented like a 25-foot U-Haul box truck, right? And he was like, listen, if it doesn't fit in this truck and that van, it's not going with us. So everything has to fit, nothing wasted. There is going to be zero wasted space. So I kid you not, we're measuring stuff to fit it in gaps in this truck as we're loading it into the truck, right? Well, one of these guys that's helping us, what was his name? Greg Lundeen was a contractor. And he was like, I think he was about 10, maybe 5 or 10 years older than my dad. He was a contractor for a long time. And he got tired of this. He's like a kind of guy that like, let's go, right? Don't beat around the bush. Let's go. Let's get stuff done. And he's standing by the truck and he's watching people walk up with boxes. And he's like, somebody's in the truck with a tape measure, measuring a space for a box. And then somebody else is measuring the box to see if it like will fit in the hole, right? He's looking at people as they're walking down with boxes and drawers, closed chest of drawers and couches and whatnot. And he's like, that's 35.5 inches wide. He's looking at it with his eye and going, that's, X amount of inches wide. And I'm 15. I'm going, how's he doing that? Right? Like, how's he doing that? And he's pretty fast, not slow, but he's having everybody double check. This guy's within 3/4 of an inch almost every time. He's that good. And so after we were all done, I was just like, how'd you do that? He's like, listen, I've had a tape measure in my hand for, X amount of years. I've been building things for X amount of years. He's like, I'm really good up until about 6 feet. And then after that, like, I got to get the tape measure out. He goes, but I don't ever count on it. Like, I still double check myself. He goes, but I'm usually within a little bit, like an inch or so. Like I can guess pretty good. But he goes, that's just time and practice. Lots of fundamental work. That right there, like, I don't know why, but that stuck with me for a long time. Still to this day, like 31 years later, Wow. I just did the math on that.
Thanks, Greg Lundeen.
Yeah. 31 years later, I still got that lesson. But he put the time into practice. And then when it was time to act, we act. I think that's the whole point of training. Like, you do the training before the fight. You do the training before you have to use it. And you practice that and you polish that up. Then, God forbid, you do have to use it. Like, you don't have to plan it out. You don't have to think about it. You're just acting. Yeah. Cool. Right on.
What an analogy to end on.
Yeah. I don't know. What else can we add to that? Can we add anything?
That's a perfect analogy. Like, there was Greg in the moment. You're loading a U-Haul truck, and he wasn't like, well, hold on, let me practice my measuring skills, and then I'll tell you where to put those boxes. He was like, there, put that box there.
Yeah.
Put that drawer there.
Yeah.
Like, and so it was just in the moment of loading the truck, he just was like, there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, tournaments. You said something about tournaments. I wanted to go back to that for just a second. Your very, very first tournament that you went to. Were you nervous?
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
But you had practiced, you put your time in. You didn't like just wake up the day of and like, oh, I'm going to go spar.
No, that was...
You had made a plan beforehand.
Well, we had at the time, the school was doing, we would do tournament prep work for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time. Beforehand. So in our classes, we were just doing sparring and point sparring and like drills to cross the line and get into the zone of action and what you do and getting there fast. So when the day arrived, it was just like, well, I just got to do it.
Yeah. It was more like another practice session, or was it more anxiety?
Well, for me, it was just a little bit more like, well, you've got the crowd, right? You're in a gymnasium, and then you've got
people watching.
There's other matches going on, so people are cheering for different matches at different times.
There's a lot of chaos.
And so you're being watched, but then you're not really being watched, by everyone. And so that is one whole factor, and then you've got your opponent, and then yourself, and then you've got. And then how the match is going. And, I definitely think there was some anxiety just cause I had never done it before. Mm-hmm. And I think if I was to go do it at a tournament now, I think I'd have a little anxiety, but the second you get into it and
you forget about it.
Yeah. Usually it goes out the window pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think there would be just a little bit cause I haven't done them in a while, but I'd still go do them.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just thinking about that because like, regardless of how much you practice, there's still a little nerve.
Oh, absolutely.
There's still a little bit of nerve there. But like in racing, like, so I used to race bicycles, BMX, and I ran track a little bit and stuff. And like my personal best, when I ran my best or when I raced my best, I didn't hear anything but the start and the finish. Like in the middle of it, I was just so focused on everything that like all of the other noise, like just like in the movies when the action happens and it gets quiet.
Yes.
That it's like that. Everything just kind of got quiet except for the task. Whoa. Right? And then it all comes back once it's over. And it's such a weird thing. But if you think about that, you lose that energy.
Yes.
Right? You get distracted by it.
Yep.
Something else happens and you're like, oh, crap. But if I can just focus on the task, I find myself like, that's when I do the best.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think there's also something to be said about so like sports games, right? Like you got your high school basketball team and they get on a roll, right? They score a point and the crowd goes like, yeah. And then they do an interception and get the ball again and then, drive down the court and then get another score and the crowd's like, yeah. And it builds,
you build
right?
that momentum.
So there is something to be said about like the atmosphere that you're in contributing to that. But yeah, I totally agree. Like then there's other times where it's like, you've got to block everything out, and everything goes away and you're just focused right on the task.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to be said both ways about that, because then the momentum that is created by the crowd cheers the team on and they're like, yeah, we're doing good. And it just feeds into their energy and their focus in a weird way, Yeah. We got the Super Bowl coming up and you definitely think the crowd's going to play a factor in.
You think so?
In how, how the players, are going to play. Like if they you see it in games. You just see it, they get a touchdown, the crowd goes wild, then they get an interception and boom, and then now they're doing it again. And they just know, like, it feeds off of itself. But at the same time, yeah, you're right. Like you get in the zone, you filter everything out. So
yeah, it's not for a long time.
No,
but it's like there's moments of it and it comes back and then it,
yes,
it ebbs and flows, right?
I could see that in sparring in tournaments. Like I get so focused, like I almost get tunnel vision on your opponent in a sparring match. And it happens here, right? You get tunnel vision on your opponent and then you don't really see or hear anything else, right? I've had that happen.
Okay, I'm not the only one.
No. But I think that, like, yeah. So anyways, that's the zone of action.
Dude, we went all over the place with that. That was crazy.
But I think it's like, to me, the zone of action is like, you might practice and get your tools what you perceive to be perfect or somebody else perceives to be perfect, right? Or you'll get them as good as you can get them. And then you cross into the zone of action and they may or may not be perfect, right, to your standards, because now you're adapting, you're having to throw that uppercut, not from a perfect stance.
Yeah, you're going to be off foot. You're going to be in an awkward position. Different things happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said, though, from practicing from a static position.
Absolutely.
With a controlled environment.
Totally.
And practicing it to where you don't even have to, where it's just an automatic thing. And then when it's in a live fire situation, when you're sparring or defending yourself or however, then it's almost like inconsequential. The fact that, like, your footing's not perfect, or it's almost like it doesn't matter because you've practiced it from that static position so many times that the other factors that are disrupting that situation are almost inconsequential. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Huh. I'm going to have to think about that for a little bit.
No, I know what you're talking about.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
This whole podcast is like we said, is on the zone of action. It's kind of chaotic like that. Right? I mean, I had a bunch of stuff written down and I've been thinking about this all week. And I hit the things that I kind of wanted to hit, I think you did the same. But it didn't, like, what I planned and what happened are not exactly the same thing, right?
That's
life.
That's a sparring match, right?
Yeah.
You go in with a plan, but now it's got to shift a little bit.
Kicked in the teeth. Oh, dude, that's good. What do we got coming up? What's new?
You're talking in regards to
podcast, life. You got any other movie stuff going on?
Right now, I've got a couple other projects. Yeah, I'm working on.
I'm
working on getting off the ground, and it's been nice because I always go back to that empty your cup term. Empty your cup, pour out everything that's in your cup and start fresh. So getting a project going from the ground up, I'm looking at it in a whole other new, fresh light. It's like you build a house your first time. Well, the second house you build, you're going to be like, okay, this is where, like, I did
this right, but I did this wrong. Yeah. I'm not going to do that again.
Yep. Okay. So same thing. And I'm doing things a little bit different this time. And definitely one thing I've learned that is so important to do is, it's kind of like your analogy of studying your opponent, right? And that guy in the locker room and practicing, and then his opponent's watching him. He's like, well, I'm watching what his move is going to be. In the same way, like, as anything with business, you want to you want to find out what the market is, right? The numbers and what things are going for in the market, right? So like,
so like if romantic comedies are on the top of the charts and everyone's watching romantic comedies, maybe the best bet is not to make a drama.
Well, yes, that's exactly what I was going for. So like every Christmas, this is the analogy I use. Every Christmas, all these Christmas movies come on.
Yeah.
The streaming services, right? It's the season, right? You have Christmas movies.
Yeah.
And those sell. So like you want to design your product for something, for a market
when it's the right time.
Well, you want to design your product for a certain type of market. So Christmas movies just sell. Like if you make a Christmas movie for a couple $100,000, there's a market to turn around and sell that to. Same thing with faith-based films, right? There's a market to sell those faith-based films in, right? But you also got to know who you're going to sell it to. And so I've got a couple other projects I'm involved with right now, and they're being designed from the back end, meaning we're looking down the road and saying like,
who are we going to present this to?
Yeah. Well, who is going to want this, and what are they eating? Right. Like you just think like, what is somebody eating? Right. Like you're people,
if they're Christmas movies, if they're making Christmas movies and producing Christmas movies, I'm not going to come to them with a Halloween movie.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Like, okay, who's your target? Right. And it goes back to targeting, right? Like, okay, we've got these 3 companies. They all eat Christmas movies, so to speak. Right. They buy Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Well, let's feed them what they want.
Yeah. Don't come to them with something that they're not into.
No, you don't. Yeah, you don't go to the Lifetime or Hallmark channel and say, "Hey, you want to buy a Halloween movie?" Like, no, you just don't like.
Exactly. You don't go to the Lifetime channel and be like, "I got this action movie based in, World War II. We're gonna take out Hitler in the bunkers." No.
Yeah. So
know your market.
Well, it's know your market, know your numbers, and thinking with the end result in mind. And I've really started to try to, that goes back to the zone of action of when you're there, the end result is to defeat your opponent. I mean, let's face it, right? If 2 people are sparring, you're not going in there to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in like 1% of the situation, but 99% of the time, you're going in there to beat your opponent. So it's like thinking with the end result in mind, but also being flexible, right? Because like how you beat them may not be
the way you planned,
the way you train and planned for. Yeah. So, anyways, it's just it's thinking with the end result in mind versus I want this right now. Like I want to make this type of film, right? It's setting out with the example of, well, I want to make more movies, but let's feed them what they want. And that's not to say that with Miracle Mile, the movie I produced and had a role in, that we found a distributor for it, and this is what they wanted, and that was great. And so now I learned that. And so now, before, when we made Miracle Mile, so let me take a step back. When we made Miracle Mile before, it was like, well, I had the idea for the story, and it's like, well, let's just make this, and then we'll go try to shop this around.
Oh, like I'll make the movie, and then I'll try and get it shopped around, or sold.
And that's really not the most effective way to do it. It can work that way, but a really effective way is to think with the end result in mind and saying like, well, yeah, every year there's, around September, October, there's Halloween movies that show up on streaming services. So, or horror films, thrillers, right? Let's go make a thriller because somebody's going to want to buy that. Mm-hmm. And so it's thinking with that in mind, and then it gets even deeper. It's like, well, this distribution company that distributes horror films and thriller films, they like certain actors or certain actresses. And that'll even break down further. Well, this actress and actor is hot right now, meaning they're in demand right now. So like Johnny Depp, he was in demand and hot 10, 20 years ago, right? And he still is, just not as much as he is.
He was like actively making movies on top of that.
Yeah, and
he was the ticket.
The ticket, and then you had all that controversy that came out with him that turned out to be false, right?
Yeah.
As far as we know. And so that kind of tarnished. The companies were like, well, we don't know.
They backed off.
Yeah, so he was so actors, their value comes and goes and ebbs and flows, and actresses and they might command a premium, and as far as their movies for a distribution company. So one of the projects I'm kind of involved in right now is, well, they got the story. Now they're getting certain actors and actresses involved that have a value to a distribution company.
Oh, okay.
So if it all plays out, this film would be like a thriller with elements of horror in it, and then you're going to go shop it to it. And this, my friend, he has already gone to distribution companies and said, "What do you want? Like, what do you want? We want to feed you what you want." And so they're like, "Well, horrors, thrillers, is what we want." And so he's like, "Okay." And then he's got an idea for a horror and a thriller, and he's got his actors and actresses that he knows that those distribution companies like to buy movies with them in those movies. Mm-hmm. And so you're presenting just a really attractive package.
As opposed to something with none of that.
Yeah.
You're playing to the buyer. You're trying to give them something they want.
Yeah. You're giving them what they want. And so it's definitely, it's something I've known about, and I've always known that is a great strategy. Mm-hmm. But not one you always have to do. And so, lots of movies have been made that, it took years to get them made and nobody believed in them. And then they got made and they came out and they were hits right.
Yeah.
And it was just like, but kind of like the playing it safe way is to line up who your buyer is before you've even started rolling the cameras.
Wow. That's cool.
Right? It's like if I want to make a protein bar, well, I could go out and make a protein bar and then try to go sell it and say, "Hey, Walmart, are you interested?" And they might be, or, "Hey, Trader Joe's, are you interested?" Versus going to Trader Joe's and be like, "Hey, do you have a protein bar that you'd like to see on your shelves? Like, what do you want in protein bars?" And they're like, "Oh, XYZ, we want protein bar with 20 grams of protein and it's, coconut flavored or whatever, or cantaloupe flavored." Cantaloupe flavored protein bar, right? So then you say, okay, and then you go and craft what they want. And then you have your parameters of what they want, and then you operate within those parameters, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where you get to play. If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. That's interesting.
So, my friend that I'm working with right now on trying to get a couple films made, the distribution companies are like, it broke down into like, well, they want horrors and thrillers, and then they like within that they like creature features, ghost stories, slashers.
Okay. Oh, okay. So they just gave you like an itinerary, like we want XYZ, ABC, da 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 da. And if you got that, then we might be interested.
Yeah, and then here's what we'll pay for that generally. And so then you take that information and you go to potential investors and say, hey, we're talking to this company and they're going to buy a horror thriller for $500,000. So if you give us $250,000 and we can get this actor for this much, and then this actor will be in this movie, then when we go to sell it, we're guaranteed to get a certain amount because this distribution company likes that actor and the genre that the film's going to be.
Interesting. That's wild. I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah.
Huh.
But it's the same thing too. You just got to figure out where you're going to go sell what you want, right? Like if I wanted to sell hot dogs, right, that have pork in them, well, I'm probably not going to go to a Jewish neighborhood and sell pork hot dogs to to people in that neighborhood. But
you're probably not going to sell a whole lot.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you might sell one or two.
Yeah. But if I go outside of a baseball stadium or inside, then
you can hawk some hot dogs.
You can throw some hot dogs, and it's finding out where are you going, who you going to go sell to, and then it's got to be a good hot dog.
Yeah.
Right. So, or decent. Right. The best a hot dog can be.
I like a good dog.
I like Nathan's hot dogs. I think they're the good ones.
Have you ever had Casper's?
No.
Got to look for some of those. The good stuff. Well, I think we've talked about hot dogs, movies, zone of action. Some of those things are related. Some of those things are not. Anything else?
No.
We're calling it good?
Good.
All right. Hey, make sure you check us out on our website, FormlessPod.com. We've got Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, all can be found at the Formless Pod. We have a website, which I talked about earlier. It has merch and pictures of us, and our podcast episodes are on that as well. Did I miss anything?
No.
All right.
We got it all.
I think that's it. Friends, stay tuned. We got some exciting news coming up. We got some new guests, some old guests, some guests we've wanted to have on for a long time. We got some history. History. Yeah. Important history, at least to us. It's all coming soon. Stay tuned. Take care. And if you're in the zone of action, do something. Don't be stagnant. You have to move. Any action will make some traction. Let's go.